Hey everybody, welcome to a new episode of Wonder Woman Says. I hope you're enjoying your summer like we're enjoying our summer so far.
Fuck that, it's hot.
Yeah, it's hot, but what else is new? I mean, I'm up for the challenge if you know what I mean.
Alright, so what we got?
Well, I know Marvel's been going in a lot of interesting directions as of late. I know we have the new Doctor Strange movie that's been out for the last month, which is a great movie, by the way.
Hell yeah, it is.
Packed full of surprise as well. We know how in the movie there's like a whole bunch of different multiverses and all that, and all these different versions, all these characters that we know and love well. This new series that Marvel has going, they did something radical this time.
Would you say it's totally radical?
I would say so. So this is the new Doctor Strange series, but you might notice something very different about the cover. You don't see Stephen Strange at all. You see his wife instead. It's clear it's pretty much the new Sorcerer Supreme now, because I missed the last couple of issues, but thankfully Marvel is going back to including these little synopsises of past events like they used to do back in the late 90s.
Does it explain why Gamera is on the cover?
Well, they saying, according to this, Stephen was murdered. Clea's taking up the mantle of Sorcerer Supreme. She's going to try to resurrect him.
Well, that doesn't really explain why there's a giant turtle monster on the cover.
No, but then, in the midst of trying to resurrect him, she butts heads with the Blasphemy Cartel, and they're pretty much locked in a war with each other, which leads to the events of this issue. We see Rose sitting behind the desk, and Clea comes in the office. Looks like there's going to be a confrontation, but Clea pretty much just wants to know where the Blasphemy Cartel is. Rose doesn't really want to tell her.
Blasphemy Cartel, it just sounds like a New Japan heel staple.
Yeah. Of course, this angers Clea because she really wants to know where the cartel is, because she wants revenge for what happened to her husband. She tells Rose that his men has pretty much been turned into snakes, and he pretty much gonna join them if he doesn't tell her where the cartel is. Well, meanwhile, the cartel is speeding down the street trying to locate her. They're pretty much looking for her like all over the city.
Even in outer space, if that adds anything to go by.
Yeah. Of course, they eventually meet up with Clea. They eventually find her. Of course, Clea is not scared at all. Clea finds herself surrounded by men who are working on behalf of the cartel. They got AR-15s and other high-powered weapons aimed directly at her. Of course, she goes into pretty much going to power mode as they get ready to fire and pretty much try to kill her once and for all.
Jesus, that guy doesn't even know how to hold that damn thing.
Yeah, you wouldn't know more about that than I do, considering what you did in the past for a living.
Yep, you want the pew-pew end to go with the bad person.
Well, they pretty much all fire at the same time, but of course, that does nothing because Clea got all the sorcery on her side. I must say, I love this epic shot right here. Like, this is the money shot of the whole entire book. Well, I'm not going to take you any further because I don't want to spoil the ending of the story since this is a new book.
Well, after the money shot, that's basically when you just wipe yourself down and click to another video anyway, so.
Yeah.
Think about that for a second.
Yeah. Yeah, I get what you're saying there. Yeah. Well, I really admire Marvel for going in all these new directions that they probably wouldn't have done even 10 years ago. Because I know Doctor Strange has been in the comics since the early 60s now. And this is the first time he's actually ever been killed off like this. Even though we all know he's going to come back eventually because he's too important of a character to just let go of completely.
In hell, he's a very important supporting character in She-Hulk.
Yeah.
And Howard the Duck, oddly enough.
Yeah, so I already know Steven will eventually appear in this series one way or the other.
It would be strange if he didn't.
Yeah. But I like how they're giving Clea this chance to shine like this. It's really cool, and I think his story is really good.
It's out of 10.
Out of 10, I think I'd give it a 9. Very good artwork, is great story, cool characters, and like you really get to see Clea as more than just being the wife of Doctor Strange. You can really see what she can do. When she's leading the story for once.
So, would you say that it's not very strange?
Yeah, I get that. Well, I guess it might be strange for people that only know Doctor Strange from the movies and stuff like that. And they come down to this and they find out Steven's nowhere to be found.
Yep. One might even say it's a strange story.
Yeah. Well, technically you can call it that.
Actually, I'm pretty sure there used to be a series called Strange Stories. I think like Ant-Man debuted in it.
And strange tales close to. Yeah.
Well, then pretend I didn't make that joke then.
Yeah.
Reminder to myself to edit it out later. All right, well, enough Doctor Strange. It's Morbin time. Yeah, we're hopping on this bandwagon.
Morbius, man.
Oh, my sweet summer child. You don't know the whole thing? It's Morbin time?
Morbid. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, like instead of morphing time, it's morbing time.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I get you. I get it now.
I mean, it's a whole thing on the internet.
Yeah, it's kind of hot in here. So,
It's the trend we're chasing.
Yeah, it's kind of hot in here, so forgive me for missing that. But yeah, Morbius out here, what we heard has been back in theaters, and we missed it on the first go around, to be honest.
But not for lack of trying.
Yeah.
They just wouldn't let us in for free.
Yeah, it's true. Well, I know back in the 70s, Morbius was introduced in a comic series named Fear. Although he wasn't in the first issue, of course, he came in maybe 16 or 17 issues into it, something like that. The Fear was like a horror anthology series. Of course, this is one of those early appearances of Morbius right here. Let's say I love this cover. It's very vintage, very of its time period too.
And very covered in soot.
Yeah, I have a really interesting story about this, why this comic looks this way. Because we live literally down the street from like a comic book place, and well, that place is selling this comic book. Like, you flip into it like you just had this smell like it's been through some kind of house fire. And this ain't the only comic book I bought that looked like this either. There's several other titles I caught, but thankfully I caught a good deal on it. I think whoever owned this, I think their house caught on fire. And they somehow miraculously saved this and some of the other books I bought.
Well, remember, you can't kill a vampire with fire. It has to be direct sunlight.
Yeah. Yeah. Or the stake through the heart, too. That'll kill him.
Or a bow and arrow if the daughter of Dracula is to be believed.
Yeah. Well, pair events of the last issue before, it seemed like Morbius has been under some type of hypnosis from Damon. Looks like he's being directed to kill a child. Of course, there's some humanity left in him. Morbius just unable to go through with it. So he temporarily lets it go, but then the dirt starts kicking in. He can't ignore it anymore. So then he goes to try to kill the child anyway.
My God, he looks like a space ghost villain in some of these panels.
Yeah, like I say, it's real early Morbius here. But yeah, it turns out the kid got some powers of her own. She ends up zapping him with her eyes before he could pretty much suck her blood out of her body. But then something interesting happens. This girl, it manages to conjure up a version of herself from when she's 20 years old, a version of herself from the future to try to fend off Morbius.
As you do. Actually, I think Sasami from Tenchi Muyo used to do that sometimes.
Yeah. Of course, this pretty much confuses Morbius because he's trying to figure out how this girl pretty much transformed herself into a woman and how this woman and the girl are pretty much operating simultaneously. Of course, the woman puts up a fight against Morbius, but it doesn't last.
Is it a whip?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that explains it. She's one of the Belmonts.
Yeah. Well, it turns out the fight doesn't really last long, and Morbius ends up pretty much taking out his hunger on this woman. But then little does he know, while he killed this woman, he also ended up killing the child too. Since the woman is technically the child, and the child pretty much felt everything that he did to the woman. So we ended up pretty much killing the child too.
I'm confused. Did he kill the child?
Well, I know it looks, well, let me rephrase that, like it looks that way, but he gotta find a way to get a transfusion to her before she does pass away. But then, before he can try to get her to the hospital, he's confronted by these mysterious beings. They pretty much directing him to go somewhere else. He arrives at this mysterious mansion, which I must say looks a lot like a mansion we all know and love, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
Yeah, it looked like the old Bates mansion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, even looked like the hill too and everything.
Yep, and just wait until Morbius' mother finds out.
Well, he goes inside, he finds all these alien creatures. They used to put so many ads in these books back in the day. So here he's in this secret laboratory. These people call themselves the caretakers. They're creatures that, quote unquote, taught humanity how to do things. Morbius ends up finding out that these creatures have been around for thousands of years, and they pretty much help shape humanity as we know it.
This is starting to sound like the plot to Society.
Oh, really?
But like, you know, they were the bad guys.
Yeah. Well, it turns out Morbius made a deal with the aliens pretty much to go destroy Damon and his cult. And in exchange, they will bring back the woman that he's looking for, Martine. So he goes back to LA, goes on the hunt for Damon. Of course, he arrives as Damon is performing a ritual. But of course, before he can get to Damon summons this cat beast, I guess you could call him. Of course, the beast goes to fight off Morbius.
Aren't all cats beasts?
They can be. Of course, Morbius finds himself in the fight for his life against this creature. Of course, the creature eventually gets the upper hand. But then we find out something in the last panel. Turns out Martine was with Damon the whole time. But like Martine thinks that Morbius is like no longer the man that she loves. Damon pretty much saying they're gonna have the beast hold Morbius until dawn. Of course, I like how they said this down here. Like, is this gonna be where Morbius dies? pretty much find out in 60 days. Must have been a long wait back then.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
on the offhand chance that the store has the soot-covered copy of that issue,
Yeah.
I think we should, try to find a more expensive, clean copy somewhere else because that thing stinks to high heaven. I used to have a used copy of The Rise and Fall of ECW that apparently someone was using as an ashtray the entire time they owned it because you could still smell all the cigarette smoke years later.
Yeah.
And that thing smells worse.
Damn, I'm sorry about that.
You're lucky I have a cold.
It's just kind of hard to pass up for just $2, knowing this book would have been 15 or 20 had it been in much better condition.
I'm exaggerating, Speedy. I'm exaggerating.
Yeah.
I mean, that thing with the ECW book was true, but that's not quite so bad. But when all the fans were on, it was blowing that soot in my face.
Yeah, I mean, I apologize for that. But yeah, I like that story a lot, though. It was a pretty science fiction-like story. I wasn't expecting that. I'm used to Morbius and like all these superhero / horror type tales. It's kind of took it in an interesting direction. All these like mysterious aliens and stuff that he's working with now. Makes me want to find out the next issue of this. I want to see what happens in that story. What happens at the end of it, I should say.
All right, so out of 5.
I have to give that story a 4.5. I really liked it. It's interesting seeing Morbius like that before he was like, I guess you could say, like he is today. Morbius kind of looked more like a stereotypical vampire back then as opposed to now.
I mean, in some of those panels, he looks like an album cover for Yes.
Well, it was 1974 when this came out, so...
Yes, sometimes I thought Morbius was in the court of the Crimson King.
Yeah. Well, that ain't the end of the book. There's another story in the back, though. This one's a lot shorter.
Well, thank goodness.
Yeah. Well, turns out there's a man. This story's about a man who's like unsatisfied with his life in all aspects.
Jesus, did R. Crumb draw this?
I don't know. It's like a reprint of an older story, but like this man's unsatisfied. He doesn't like his wife because his wife bosses him around all the time. His boss don't pay him enough at his job. He's pretty much just unhappy. He's like pretty much bossed around every day. Until one day though, his wife makes him go into this fortune teller's tent that he doesn't really want to go into. But he goes in just to please his wife. But of course, he ends up falling in love with the fortune teller.
With that person? Really? Love is blind.
Yeah, but he doesn't see this, at least not yet. He sees this first.
She's drawn so much like the wife character.
Yeah, he sees, I guess...
Oh, wait, no, the wife's over here. Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah, that's his wife right there. But yeah, because like, this is how the fortune teller really looks, but he's kind of being fooled.
Alright,
Yeah, because the fortune teller tells him to pretty much go kill his wife and go rob his boss, and then when he gets back, they could run away together. And of course, he asks for a kiss in exchange, but she tells him, like, you're not going to get that till he come back with the money. And of course, he's pretty much instantly in love, too, so...
Yay, we're finally turning the page.
Of course, when he comes back to his wife now, he has some very sinister intentions running through his mind now. So I know later that night, his wife pretty much bossing him around like she usually does. This time, he ain't taking it. He pretty much grabs a knife and pretty much stabs her to death. And he goes to his job and goes to his boss's safe and pretty much takes all the money out. and he takes it back to the fortune teller. But then, of course, he wants the kiss so bad, but then, unfortunately for him, finds out how the fortune teller really looks. He's terrified too.
Looks like the guy from the E Street Band.
Like that.
Looks like the guy from the E Street Band.
Maybe.
with the headband.
Yeah.
It's on the Sopranos.
Yeah. I like that little twist at the end. It's not a long story at all, but I think it was a nice addition to the Morbius story.
All right, so I guess out of 3.
Oh, it's gotta be less. I mean, I know it's a shorter story.
I don't know. We're trying to mix it up, man.
Okay.
Out of 17, then.
I think that's a little too much.
All right, out of 5.
Okay. Out of 5.
You grouch.
I think I give it a 4. It's pretty short, but honestly, I think they actually could have made a full-length book out of that story, flesh it out some more. Plays like a old horror movie maybe from the 40s or 50s. It had that retro horror feel to it.
Very Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah. It might have been a Tales from the Crypt episode with that very same storyline. I wouldn't be surprised.
Alrighty, so what do we have in store for Pride Month?
Well, I know it's not. I guess you could somewhat consider her an LGBT character now. 'Cause I know Poison Ivy's getting her own series now. We're going to review the first issue of that on the next episode. And we're still kind of determining what's going to be the next blast from the past. But it is indeed Pride Month, and I know I'm trans myself, if you can't already tell from how I look.
Me too.
Yeah, we both are, you know. Of course, I'm bi, so, you know, I guess you could say I identify with the B and the T, so.
And obviously I got to give it up for my Bears.
Yeah. But, you know, it's been a nice ride, so to speak, and yeah, Pride Month is a pretty important deal for those that actually, you know, live as one of the letters, so to speak. Yeah, but pretty much, I just want to say, you know, happy Pride Month. We're going to be back real soon. Thank you for watching this episode. Please hit like and subscribe if you enjoy this content. I know we thank you for watching this. We appreciate the support, and all I can say is I can't wait for the next episode. So enjoy your evening. We'll be back next time.
Woo!
Yeah.